You've also been criticized for your comments. The shooting, we should note, was Wednesday at 10:37 a.m. Eastern. Just over 2 hours later, the Department of Homeland Security put out a statement definitively asserting what had happened, defending the ICE agent, accusing Renee Good of domestic terrorism. That's a characterization that you reiterated in a press conference half an hour later. Now, Republican Senator Tom Tillis said, quote, "It was very unusual to have a senior law enforcement official to draw a conclusion about an event where the scene was still being processed. Generally speaking, law enforcement would recognize that a life was lost, that families are changed forever, the shooter's life will change forever. We're collecting video. We're trying to assess the situation." Why did you not wait for an investigation before making your comments?
Before the facts were even fully processed, the media decided who was guilty. And today you're watching a reporter aggressively grill Kristi Noem for doing what this administration refuses to do anymore: defend law enforcement immediately. Stick with me, because this exchange exposes exactly how the press twists reality when federal agents protect themselves. If you support law and order, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's break this down.
Well, everything that I've said has been proven to be factual and the truth. This administration wants to operate in transparency. I have the responsibility as the Secretary of Homeland Security to know this information as soon as possible. Had just been in Minneapolis the day before, had already had conversations with officers on the ground and supervisors, and knew the facts, and decided that the department and the people of this country deserve to know the truth of the situation of what had unfolded in Minneapolis.
But with all due respect, Secretary, the first thing you said was, quote, "What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow."
Correct.
Because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and rammed them with her vehicle. That's not what happened. We all saw what happened.
It absolutely is what happened. Those officers had been out in enforcement action. A vehicle had been stuck. They had come to help get that vehicle out. That's when this individual started blocking traffic for minutes and minutes.
You said that the woman attacked them and surrounded them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
Blocked the road for a long time and was yelling at them and impeding a federal law enforcement investigation. And that's what you need to focus on, Jake, is they were breaking the law by impeding and obstructing a law enforcement operation. They were breaking the law already, and these officers were doing their due diligence and what their training had prepared them to do to make sure they were handling it appropriately.
You said within hours of her being killed, you said that she was a domestic terrorist. How do you define domestic terrorist?
She weaponized her vehicle to conduct an act of violence against a law enforcement officer and the public. They are doing that.
How can you assert with certainty that she was trying to hurt the officer as opposed to she was trying to flee the scene?
If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
So this video shows Kristi Noem being grilled by a reporter over the Minneapolis shooting involving an ICE agent. And right out of the gate, the reporter frames the entire conversation around one accusation: that DHS spoke too fast and shouldn't have defended the agent before a full investigation. Let's be clear about what actually happened here. Within hours of the shooting, DHS stated that ICE agents were conducting an enforcement operation when a woman blocked traffic, interfered with the operation, and used her vehicle in a way that endangered officers. Noem stood by that assessment, calling it domestic terrorism, and that's where the media completely loses it.
The question is, I don't doubt, my position is, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Some people say that it clearly showed that she was trying to hit him and did. Some people say, no, she was clearly trying to move her car and flee and get away. I don't know. What I'm saying is, how do you know? How can you assert for a fact within hours, before any investigation, this is what happened?
The facts of the situation are that the vehicle was weaponized and it attacked the law enforcement officer. He defended himself and he defended those individuals around him. That is the definition. When there is something that is weaponized to use against the public and law enforcement, that is an act of domestic terrorism. It happened in our shores. It happened here in our country. You don't get to change the facts just because you don't like them. We will continue to look at this individual and what her motivations were. We know that there was, throughout that morning, she had harassed and impeded law enforcement operations. That raises the suspicion level with all of these law enforcement officers as far as paying attention to to what her capacity is. And as you see on the videos, and they've proven out, that this law enforcement officer took the action that his training prepared him for, and he worked to make sure that he could save his own life and those around him.
How can you assert that there's no ambiguity in this before any investigation has taken place?
I had just been in Minneapolis and had been with those officers, had seen what they were facing on the streets every day, and had talked to their supervisors as soon as the incident happened and had gotten the facts and seen videos before I ever went to talk at that press conference. And the Trump administration and President Trump is the most transparent and open government that we've ever had. Give the public the information, give them what they need to know about a situation so they can have the truth as soon as possible.
The reporter repeatedly argues that Noem had no right to make those statements before investigators finished their work. But Noem pushes back hard, explaining that she had just been on the ground in Minneapolis, spoke directly with officers and supervisors, reviewed video footage, and knew the facts before speaking publicly. What the media doesn't want to admit is this: law enforcement doesn't operate in a vacuum. Context matters. According to Noem, this individual had been obstructing law enforcement for an extended period that morning, escalating tensions and raising safety concerns long before the shooting occurred.
So if this agents were perfectly fine, if everything he did was accurate, does that mean that other ICE agents should
He
look
wasn't
at what...
perfectly fine. He was injured. He went to the hospital.
No,
He
his
was
actions were
treated.
fine. I didn't say...
In fact, I think a lot of people and guests, and even you yourself, called this situation something very different and untruthful about what it was, as far as...
What did I say that was
individual,
untruthful?
That this was not a correct definition of what was happening on the ground. That this
I said that your description, they were attempting to push out their vehicle and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle, is not what we see on the videotape, and it's not.
It absolutely is the facts of what happened on the ground that day. They were there pushing out a vehicle earlier. They had helped each other.
But that's not
do
what
that.
you said. That's not what you said.
Yes,
they were pushing out a
absolutely
vehicle.
what I said. There's not one thing.
We all have seen the video. I don't need to relitigate it. We've all seen the video. She is blocking the street. They approach her.
You haven't seen the video of the entire morning and the previous encounters with this individual.
Oh, we have aired it. Yes, we have. On Thursday, we were airing and noting the fact that she was there for several minutes, for minutes and minutes and minutes. She was protesting without question.
And at previous locations that morning, that these vehicles had been previously down the block on video that you haven't seen. There's more information
But the
that
question,
this
the question
individual
is
was
not...
impeding law enforcement operations throughout the previous moments and hours before this incident
The question is, what was she doing when she was moving her car?
The question
That's the question.
Is why are we arguing with a president who's working to keep people safe? Why are we arguing with law enforcement operations that have gone on in this country for years, and we're working to collect murderers and rapists and drug traffickers and fraudsters off the streets of Minnesota, and we don't have local law enforcement and local elected officials that are partnering with us to help do that work? Overwhelmingly, the people in this country said they wanted America to be safe again, that they didn't want dangerous criminals on our streets. I would encourage the elected leaders in that city and in that state to work with us so that we can do our operations without the kind of opposition and people that are conducting and perpetuating the kind of violent rhetoric that we're seeing today.
The key disagreement in this interview is intent. The reporter claims it's unclear whether the woman was trying to hurt the officer or simply flee. Noem argues that once a vehicle is used in a way that strikes an officer, it becomes a weapon, and that's not opinion, that's law. And here's the part the mainstream media refuses to acknowledge. ICE agents are working in hostile environments, often without support from local officials, trying to remove dangerous criminals from American streets. When someone interferes with that operation and an officer is struck, the blame doesn't belong on the agent defending his life. The reporter keeps insisting the video doesn't show what Noem described, but Noem makes an important point. The public hasn't seen everything. The media selectively plays clips that fit a narrative, while ignoring earlier encounters and broader context that law enforcement reviewed in real time. This wasn't just an interview. It was another example of the press acting like defense attorneys for anyone opposing federal law enforcement, while treating ICE agents like criminals for doing their jobs. At the end of the day, this comes down to one question. Do we back the men and women enforcing our laws, or do we let activists, hostile media, and political pressure paralyze them into inaction? I know where I stand. If you believe America should be safe again, if you believe law enforcement deserves support instead of second-guessing from the media, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to see the truth behind the headlines.